In a small village nestled between rolling hills and expansive forests, there lived a swordmaster named Riku. He was known far and wide for his extraordinary skills, having trained countless students who sought to learn the art of the sword. Riku was a man of few words, but his presence commanded respect. His reputation was built not just on his skill with the blade, but on the wisdom he imparted to his students. However, despite his prowess, Riku faced a problem that weighed heavily on his heart. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves painted the ground in hues of orange and gold, Riku noticed a change in his students. The once vibrant energy that filled the dojo had dulled. They came to practice with heavy hearts, their minds distracted by the worries of the world outside. Rumors of war had spread through the villages, and fear gripped the hearts of young and old alike. His students, once eager to learn, now found it difficult to focus, their spirits clouded by uncertainty. Riku understood their plight. He had faced his own battles in life, and he knew that fear could be a formidable opponent. He recalled the lessons he had learned from his own master, who had taught him that the true essence of a swordmaster was not merely in wielding a blade, but in cultivating inner strength and clarity. Inspired by this memory, Riku decided it was time to address the unease that plagued his students. Gathering them in the dojo one evening, Riku stood before them, his posture relaxed yet commanding. He spoke softly, allowing his words to resonate in the quiet space. "Fear is like a shadow," he began. "It can loom large and darken our path, but it is not the shadow that defines us. It is how we choose to respond to it." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle upon them. To become a true swordmaster, one must learn to confront fear not with aggression, but with understanding. The students listened intently, their eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Riku continued, "I will share a story from my past, one that taught me the importance of facing fear with courage." He recounted a time when he was a young warrior, standing on the brink of battle. His heart raced as he faced an enemy far larger and more formidable than himself. In that moment, he felt the grip of fear tightening around him, threatening to paralyze him. But instead of succumbing, he remembered his master's teachings. Fear is a companion, not an enemy. Acknowledge it, understand it, and let it guide you to your true strength. With that memory fresh in his mind, Riku had taken a deep breath and stepped forward, not in defiance of the enemy, but in acceptance of the challenge. He had learned to embrace the fear, allowing it to sharpen his focus. The battle was fierce, but he emerged victorious, not because he was the strongest, but because he had faced his fear head-on. As he finished his story, Riku looked around at his students, their faces reflecting a newfound determination. "Fear will always be a part of our lives," he said, "but it does not have to control us. Let it be the fire that fuels your passion to improve, to grow, and to become the masters you aspire to be." Inspired by Riku's words, the students began to practice with renewed vigor. They approached their training with a sense of purpose, each swing of the sword resonating with the understanding that they were not just learning to fight. They were learning to conquer their own fears. Riku watched as each student transformed, their movements becoming more fluid, their minds clearer, and their hearts braver. Weeks passed, and the village began to prepare for the possibility of conflict. Riku knew that while his students were growing stronger, the true test of their strength would come when they faced the reality of war. He decided it was time to teach them another crucial lesson: the importance of compassion and understanding in the face of adversity. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Riku gathered his students once more. "A sword is a powerful tool," he said, "but it is not the tool that defines us. It is how we choose to use it. In times of conflict, we must remember that our enemies are often driven by fear, just as we are. To truly master the sword, we must also master our hearts." He proposed an exercise that would challenge them to confront their fears, not through combat, but through empathy. He instructed them to imagine themselves in the shoes of their potential enemies, to understand their motivations and fears. The students were hesitant, unsure how to approach such an exercise. But Riku encouraged them to step outside their comfort zones, to engage in conversations with the villagers who were afraid, to listen to their stories, and to understand their perspectives. As the days went by, the students ventured into the village, speaking with those who were frightened and anxious about the looming threat of war. They listened to tales of loss, of families torn apart, and of dreams shattered. With each conversation, they began to realize that the fear they had felt was shared by many. This understanding forged a bond between them and the villagers, transforming their fear into a collective strength. When the day finally came for the village to face the threat, Riku's students stood together, not just as warriors, but as a community. They had learned to wield their swords with compassion, understanding that true strength lay not only in their ability to fight, but in their ability to unite. When the enemy approached, they did not charge into battle with blind rage. Instead, they sought to understand, to negotiate, and to find common ground. The confrontation that day was not one of bloodshed, but of dialogue. Riku watched as his students, once burdened by fear, emerged as leaders, guiding their village toward a peaceful resolution. They had learned that the sword could be a tool for protection, but it could also be a bridge for understanding. In the aftermath, as the sun set on a peaceful village, Riku felt a profound sense of pride. His students had not only mastered the art of the sword, but had also embraced the deeper lesson of life. That true mastery comes from within, from facing fears with courage, and from wielding compassion as power. The village thrived, not just because they had avoided war, but because they had learned to confront their fears together, emerging stronger and more united than ever. Riku knew that the lessons of the sword extended far beyond the blade itself, weaving a tapestry of resilience, understanding, and hope for the future.